we're going to talk about Companion.
Okay.
What was your initial reaction when you first read the script?
I was blown away by the script. It was very funny. It was incredibly entertaining, and it was very character-driven. I love the trajectory of the Iris character, of what she goes through, how she changes, how she surmounts these obstacles, and I was so looking forward to the opportunity to do it. I was very surprised when I began talking to my director, Drew, about it, and I was like, let's talk about the tone of this thing, because it has this capability of, on the script, it reads very funny, and we could make the film seem very broad in its sensibility, but where do you come down on the execution of this? Like on a sliding scale of silly, how silly is this movie? And he said, well, from a scale from 1 to 10, I see this movie on a -10 on the silly scale. Like, I see this movie as more of like a David Fincher-like thriller. Like, there are comedy components in it, sure, but I don't really want to lean into that genre. I want to be a bit more dry with it. And the comedy will, I think, happen naturally through the casting and some of the script, but like, I don't want to lean into it. It didn't necessarily pan out that way. we start shooting, and we have these great actors, Rupert Friend, Harvey Guillen, Sophie, Jack. These are comedic heavyweights. And so they're interpreting this material that Drew has written very eloquently, and the film takes on this new breadth. It evolves, it changes. And then we had a meeting. We got shut down for the strikes. We came back after the strike was resolved, and Drew was like, I think I want to lean into like what my actors are giving me. They're giving me something that's really fun, big, entertaining. Let's open the tone up a little bit, and let's explore, I think, what you were seeing initially in that script.
One of the challenges was, we know at the beginning Iris is going to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're giving away the end, but it's her journey that is what we discovered. What were the challenges of kind of like giving away the ending, but kind of developing a story, a different kind of style we weren't expecting?
That is a great question, and the reason, because it's a great question, is that was not the intended line. When Drew first wrote the script, instead of Iris saying the day I killed him, it was initially the day he killed me. So the movie in its rough cut form existed for several months, where when Iris is giving that open narration, she says, the day he killed me, and your first impression of Iris is that this woman is a victim. Something terrible is going to happen to her, and you're a little anxious, you're a little on edge for when is it going to happen, how is it going to happen, is it Josh? Is Josh somehow, she mentioned Josh is going to kill her, how has this happened? And so you're trying to reconcile those ideas. And we got to a testing phase where we start showing it to friends and family, and it was from a friend and a colleague of mine, Mike Flanagan, the director of Haunting of Hill House, Old House of Usher. He raised his hand and he's like, I really love this cut, I think it works on so many levels, I have an idea, change that opening line from the day he killed me to the day I killed him. It's like one of those light bulb ideas that took a while for all of us in editorial to kind of imagine, like, what would be the consequences of telling the audience that, like, she does this? And we discovered that, like, your first impression of Iris is someone that is very affable, loving, shy, meek, and then to tell the audience, like, she's going to become a killer by the end of the movie, it makes you lean forward a little bit. You're like, I don't believe you. How is this possible? I can't reconcile what you've just told me with what I see. So it made you lean forward a little bit. It made you question what you were watching. It gave it a bit more of this inquisitive thriller, cerebral component, where you don't know if you can really believe everything you hear. But we weren't even sure about this all the way up until the end of post. We got to the end of editorial, and fortunately the film was testing well. Audiences were really liking it, but Drew was like, I'm not sure about that line. Like, it's so interesting, like how that little kernel of something can change an entire perception. So he was even teasing the idea with New Line to, like, can we have 2 separate test screenings? Can we have one test screening with the day I killed him, and the other one with the day he killed me? And we debated back and forth quite a bit, and eventually he landed on what ended up in the final film.
I think it's a great, we have a lot of student editors that watch. It's a great lesson for student editing, how a thing can change, one little thing can change the whole entire tone and the feel of a film.
The ripple effects of it are quite surprising and a little intimidating. Like, you realize the power of something like that.
Now, one of the other challenges for me, I'm assuming, is Josh, because we have to like him for a while. Oh my God, why is she going to kill him? We have to kind of root for him in some way. What was the challenge about him? When did you make him show his dark side? Like, how did you want to balance? Like, we want to keep him interested, but at some point we got to show that he's bad.
That's also something we had to question in the editing room as well. We had several other takes of Jack Quaid being a bit more of a douche. We have other alt takes where he's a bit more grumpy and a bit more, he's a little more, not angry, so to say, with Iris in the beginning, but a bit more curmudgeon-y. And it was a decision that we found, it was a thing that we found through the process of editing the film, where if you make Josh really affable at the beginning, kind of an aloof, kind of this a little uncomfortable in his own skin, a bit insecure, it also forces you to ask, why would Iris kill this guy? He seems harmless.
Right.
It then, as the film progresses and you see the levels of menace that this guy subtly begins to unveil, you become a bit more emotionally involved, because you're like, this guy didn't read to me so much as a villain, but the more he talks about his relationship with Iris, the more you learn about how he really feels about her, the more you see him interact with Kat and the way he treats everybody around him, you gradually begin to hate this guy more and more and more. So I think it was a balance of surprising the audience, of making them lean forward and question what they were seeing, but also, we're not necessarily trying to make him likable, but I think my goal in the editing room is to make you empathize with the characters. Drew writ such wonderfully rendered three-dimensional characters, and although, yes, Jack Quaid plays a really despicable villain in this movie, I still want you to ask, what would you do in his point of view? Like, what would you do in his shoes?
I like the touch of having the other couple, robot human, actually turn out to be nice. Like loving. Was that the choice you wanted? You wanted to kind of make it, a little interesting nuance to it?
Well, my goal with the entire material was to make sure that the audience connects with Iris from the get-go and stays connected with her the entire time. We always viewed it internally in the editing room, Drew, myself, my collaborators, as an emancipation story. It's a story about an individual getting out of a toxic relationship. Someone that finds courage, someone that finds self-reliance, someone that finds the ability to stand up for herself, to remove herself from something that is gone very sour. So it's about a story about someone finding their own inner power. The fact that it happens to be an AI story and a robot story, we almost kind of treat it as like external trappings. Like, it's fun because it subverts a lot of your expectations. And even when Drew started writing Companion, he viewed it as, I'm going to make Iris the bad guy. I'm going to make Iris the one that that is going to wreak havoc in this estate. But the more he wrote her, right, he was, I think, a few pages in, or almost to the halfway point, where he was like, I find myself connecting more with this nervous robot than anybody else in the cast, than anybody else in the characters. She wants to be accepted. She's shy. She wants to be loved. I have more in common with her than anybody else.